Pfizer's Q3 results beat expectations this morning amidst legal battles to break into the weight loss drug market. Here to talk more about this, Evan Siegerman, Managing Director of BioPharma at BMO Capital Markets. Evan, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Your thoughts on that number, considering everything else that's around this company right now?
I mean, listen, the results, fundamentally, the results for 3Q were good. I like what they're doing with their cost-cutting initiative that's really helping them drive margin expansion. Even with some of the COVID numbers underperforming, I think revenues were down 7% year over year, but all in a strong print. But clearly the focus, to your point earlier, is the Metsera saga that has now become, with both Pfizer and now Novo Nordisk coming in with competing bids. Metsera is saying the Novo bid is still better than Pfizer's.
And it sounds like this thing's getting ugly. I just saw a report where at one point Pfizer told them that to say you can't allow Novo to even bid on it.
I mean, it's crazy. I think, the Pfizer stance, and I don't want to speak for them, but from what I've heard is that clearly there's an anti-competitive component of Novo Nordisk going in for Novo Nordisk for Metsera. And that actually goes back to the proxy when there was a bidder, likely Novo Nordisk, indicating that it would take 2 years for for regulatory review. So Pfizer's now claiming that this is anti-competitive. It'd be 2 years of Metsera kind of being in limbo. But, that Novo is really kind of going very, very strong to make this happen. So we'll see what happens. I believe there's a hearing right now for a temporary restraining order on the deal between Novo and Metsera. Sorry about that.
No worries. How important is it for Pfizer to get this? I mean, this is a big market. Should they have to get it?
I think, BD is critical for Pfizer. And I think this one especially would help them get into a very large obesity market. I've been on BNN several times talking about, the strength of Lilly and at some point Novo Nordisk. But I think this really would allow them to be a real player. I think this asset in hands of someone like Pfizer can really go far. They have the internal capabilities to run the trials, launch the drugs, manufacture them, which a smaller player may not be able to have. And let's face it, they have LOEs, so loss of exclusivity events, so drugs going off patent in the near term, so they do need something big.
And the other issue, they're looking at COVID-19 vaccine sales are tumbling. That weighed heavily.
That did, but this was largely expected. I think, in speaking to the company, ahead of 3Q results, we knew that COVID numbers were declining. And even with their guidance, their CFO, Dave Denton, incorporated some, softness for the COVID numbers in the way he was thinking about the full year. So it's not a huge surprise. If you look, people aren't getting as, frequently vaccinated with COVID vaccines as they had in the past. And we expect that to continue, which is why it's important for Pfizer to invest in an asset like Metsera to grow beyond, the next couple of years and really create some sustainability in their P&L.
And another one on a miss for them was the Vyndaqel. I think is that how you pronounce it? Vyndaqel. It's for treat heart failure. They missed on that as well.
Yes. I have to kind of go back. There might be some seasonality associated with that. You have to remember, some of these more rare disease drugs typically are weaker in the summer months. People just aren't seeing their doctors as much, maybe not getting their prescription refills. And there's also some in-class competition with different assets from other players. So I got to really go to the specifics, but that is an important driver to the Pfizer P&L. I'm glad you brought it up. But it could be some seasonality or some other factors when it comes to competition.
Okay, and what are you looking for going forward from here then?
I mean, listen, we are focused really on what happens with the Pfizer-Metsera deal. Remember, Novo Nordisk is also reporting tomorrow, and they have several events with analysts and investors throughout the week. So we'll hear their perspective and their side of the story. And I think that's going to drive the narrative. This was supposed to have closed next week with a shareholder vote that was supposed to sail smoothly, and now that's not happening. I think if this doesn't happen, I really want to understand how they're going to potentially be in the obesity space or where else they allocate their capital in terms of business development.
And are there any other options in the obesity space? And if not, where would they look?
So there are two other options that come to mind. I covered this company, Structure Therapeutics. They have a small molecule GLP-1 similar to Lilly's orforglipron. That is, will have phase 2b data later this year, so in the next month or so. Then there's another company I don't cover, Viking Therapeutics. They're in the peptide space, a lot of interest there. But it's pretty clear when I spoke to the company back in September that Metsera was the one that they wanted. If they don't go into obesity, I could see them leaning into inflammation, potentially more in oncology. Are areas of high unmet need.
Okay. And any chance of this pressure they're feeling right now, they might overbid or offer too much?
I don't know if they're going to overbid, and frankly, $10 billion for what could be, a $10 billion asset and then some isn't crazy in my view. I think they need to be measured because if you go back to the times when they had all the COVID cash, they were kind of a little, I don't want to say reckless, but I think they were aggressive when they were buying some of these assets and maybe overpaid. So they want to be measured now. They want the asset, but of course they don't want to overpay.
Okay, Evan, thanks as always for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Evan Siegerman is Managing Director of BioPharma at BMO Capital Markets.